Hang on to your hats, boys and girls. Cobra Commander is back with cameos galore, and the greatest cameo of all is one that you won't see coming. We're going to talk about it in our review of Cobra Commander number 3 from Image Comics. See you in 3. And welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of Cobra Commander number 3. And in this issue, Cobra Commander gets put through the ringer when he's interrogated by the bloodthirsty Dreadnoks. But before we get started, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. Your attention is greatly appreciated, and make sure to stay tuned to the end for the final score. Credits. Cobra Commander number 3 is written by Joshua Williamson, art by Andrea Milana, colors by Annalisa Leone, letters by Russ Wooten, and the main cover, cover A, is also drawn by Andrea Milana with color assist by Annalisa Leone. Let's talk about what happened in the last issue before we get into the meat of this one. Cobra Commander and his Cobra Law bodyguard made their way down into the Florida swamps looking for a collection or cache or some kind of artifact of Energon energy, because Cobra Commander firmly believes, after he's extracted some of the memory information from the corpse, or maybe not so dead corpse, of Megatron, that the Energon energy could have vast amounts of value, that could build armies, that could build super weapons, all kinds of things. So he's down in the Florida swamps because his detecting devices have shown him that there's a cache of Energon in that area. And he separates because he's sort of been trying to get rid of his bodyguard who's trying to lead him in different directions. They separate. Cobra Commander finds the source of the Energon, but it's down in the bottom of a kind of a swampy pond, and he gets pulled down by Energon infused alligators, or crocodiles if you prefer. They don't really say which is which. And what we see in that scene is that the Energon has a transformative, quote unquote, transformative effect on the animals to which it's exposed. So it looks like the crocodiles or the alligators, or whichever they are starting to adapt and start to spawn in some kind of cybernetic qualities to them. Cobra Commander tries to shoot his way out of their grip, and he's still getting pulled down, can't escape. And at the very last minute, we see a chain wrapped around him, possibly to pull him up. Elsewhere, we catch up with the Dreadnoks, who are meeting in their swamp cabin hideout. And Zorana is unveiling a big cube of Energon, and she declares that this is our time, boys. We're going to level up. If we can sell this Energon, it's going to make all our dreams come true, and we're going to turn into a second-class gang into a first-class gang. But we have to make sure that it's protected and it stays safe. Just when she thinks that they're all set and they're ready to go, and they're going to try and find some way to fence or sell off this Energon to the highest bidder, Xandar, who is Zorana's brother, breaks in, and he's got Cobra Commander in chains. What happens after that is a very long, very lengthy montage of torture and interrogation, and trying to get Cobra Commander to talk, to find out who he is, what he's after, what he's looking for, what have you. And it gets pretty, I wouldn't say gruesome, but it's definitely violent. Blood splattering everywhere. Cobra Commander gets put through the ringer, and it's pretty rough stuff. However, towards the end of the interrogation, and he hasn't let out a single scream or a single yell of pain or no mas, no mas. He's definitely not giving up, not saying uncle. At the very end, he starts talking to the individual Dreadnoks who go into the room to try and question him. And then he begins subtle mental manipulations. He starts planting seeds of doubt and getting them to turn on each other. He tells one Dreadnok that the other one hates him. He tells another Dreadnok that the other one is scheming behind his back. And they start fighting amongst each other. But before things get out of hand, Zorana says that's enough of that. And Cobra Commander, right at the last minute, pushes a little button on his shirt collar, or his coat collar, right around his wrist, the cuff of his coat. He sends out a signal, and they were like, "What was that?" And they drag him outside, like, we're gonna store him somewhere else where we can keep a better eye on him. But when they go outside, they see the bodyguard come up, and the bodyguard is saying, "That's enough of that. Cobra Commander, you're coming with me. They have some Energon. We're going to take it, and Globulus will not be denied." One of the Dreadnoks hits the bodyguard with a bat and damages his face, and then you can see some of the skin peel away, and his eyes are glowing. And they're like, who the heck is this guy? And then the bodyguard said, "That's enough. I'm tired of this charade. I'm going to do my worst." and he tears off his skin and outer layer. And this is a spoiler. If you don't want to know who it is, pause now, come back in about 15 to 20 seconds. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, spoiler time. The bodyguard, when he rips off all the skin and his clothes, is Nemesis Enforcer. Wings, glowy eyes, the suit, all of it. So if you're got a hankering for G1 type G.I. Joe characters that come from Cobra Law, this is it. Okay, we're going to go back to not or semi-spoiler, but not the super duper spoiler territory. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so Cobra Commander is now with his now revealed bodyguard to be a very special G1 character, and they are ready to take everything that they want. And that's where the issue ends. We don't know how that's going to affect the Dreadnoks. We don't know how it's going to affect Cobra Commander's mission, and there are lots of things that are up in the air. But basically, this issue is from start to finish, cameo after cameo after cameo after cameo. And if you want your nostalgia bone tickled, this is the issue for you, especially if you have a fondness for the Dreadnoks and Cobra Law and all of the evil and villainous sides of the G.I. Joe mythology. What did we like about Cobra Commander number 3? It moves fairly well, lots of twists and turns. You definitely get a heightened or an elevated sense that Cobra Commander is one tough cookie. He takes that interrogation without letting out a peep, and that definitely elevates him as a tough villain to overcome. Plus, the last minute reveal of this special G1 character's cameo kind of puts a cool factor that really elevates this issue beyond a standard interrogation scene and making Cobra Commander look tough. So this is a good issue, but the little bits and pieces that are the extra special twists are what give it that little bit of extra to make it a turn it from an okay issue to a pretty good issue. So this isn't a fantastic issue, but it's pretty good. What didn't we like about the issue? The interrogation scene is important. Well, it's not a scene, it's a series of scenes. It's important to kind of show how tough Cobra Commander is, how much punishment he can take without breaking or cracking, and how far he's willing to go to get his, or how much pain he's willing to endure to meet his objective. However, it went on a long time. I mean, it takes up more than half the book. It just one beating after another, one stab after another, kick after another. They're talking about cutting off limbs. It goes on a while, and that's not to say that you can't do interrogation scenes that get pretty violent and bloody, but it drags on a long time. So after a while, you're like, okay, I get it. I get the point. I see what he's trying to do. And you feel like they could have shortened that up and added a little bit more meat to the plot. So that's on Joshua Williamson. He made that creative choice. I see where he was going, but that piece of interrogation that was meant to elevate Cobra Commander as a really tough cookie probably went too far, not in the sense that it did too much or was too violent, but in the sense that it was just dragged on way too long. You get the point about halfway through that, and you're like, okay, we're still going. And that probably could have been shortened up and gave you more room in the comic to do other things. What do we think about the art? The art is okay. I don't mean this to ding Andrea Milana or Annalisa Leone. It's okay. Their figure work, their line work, the pencils, the inks are very loose. You're not gonna. It's not high detail. It's not sharp lines. The character work is okay. It's good. It's not great. The art could be better. If Robert Kirkman and Skybound want to make a really big impressive hit, the art style's got to come up a little bit. It's about on the same level of Void Rivals if you're reading Void Rivals, which is also part of the Energon universe. It's okay, not great, not going to blow you away, but gets the job done. Final thoughts. What do we think of Cobra Commander number 3? Great cameos, lots of cameos. The last cameo in particular is kind of interesting, intriguing, exciting. The pacing's good, and Cobra Commander is definitely elevated as a tough customer that you don't want to mess with. We're used to sort of thinking of him as a sort of like a whiny, kind of a whiny, sniveling, almost cowardly type of character. This series has gone a long way towards elevating that misconception, which is good. On the downside, most of the issue is taking up with a very violent series of interrogation scenes that just dragged on too long. They weren't overly violent, but there was just so much of it that you feel like that the rest of the plot got shortchanged. Therefore, we're going to give Cobra Commander number 3 from Image Comics an 8.2 out of 10. Solid 8.2 out of 10. We want to know what you think. Are you reading Cobra Commander? Are you reading the Energon universe as a whole? Or are you only picking and choosing what you would like to read? Or do you prefer the original G.I. Joe that's currently out, done by Larry Hama? Let us know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinion. I want to know what you think. And if you like reviews just like this, please stay tuned through the outro.